Blade Runner is boring. Nah, not really. I actually think it's great. I just wanted to say that because to some people, that's very upsetting to hear. The response is normally something like, it's a groundbreaking piece of cinema, pioneering both stylistically and in terms of tackling themes never attempted before in cinema. Which, to be fair, I believe that's true. It also has a lot of long, lingering shots of cities that you could not get away with today in a sci-fi film, simply because we've seen it 100 times since 1982. We've even seen it this very year in Ghost in the Shell, which is the poor man's Blade Runner, and also the poor man's Ghost in the Shell. I do, however, think if you came to the original Blade Runner, having watched all the knockoffs and homages that have come since, then yeah, I can see how one could consider it boring. It's a bit meandering, plus it also has that weird scene where Harrison Ford forces himself on a robot. Also, if you've ever watched the original cut with Deckard's inner monologue, I mean, good grief.
Skin jobs. That's what Bryant called replicants. In history books, he's the kind of cop used to call black men.
That being said, the original Blade Runner, or the better cuts of the film, is difficult to top. And in a sequel, you can't really just do the same thing, because why rehash something that many people consider to be perfect? But at the same time, what direction do you take the film in? Well, story-wise, I guess you do this. 30 years after the original, a new Blade Runner, Officer K, unwittingly unearths a secret which sets him on a journey that has him intersect with a very familiar face from the past. It's Harrison Ford, it's in the trailers. However, that's all you really need to know going into this. I'm reluctant to say anything else because Blade Runner 2049 is fantastic. And I'd hate to spoil the ride on what not only is a great and worthy sequel, but also one of the best films of 2017. Blade Runner 2049 does something rare for a sequel, in that it expands upon the existing universe in a very organic way. This isn't just in terms of the technological advancements, in this alternative look at the future, where Atari is still riding high, but also in the way it takes what we know of the original lore and its characters, and builds upon them in a meaningful way. You get the sense that this world has moved on and matured, and not always for the better, along with the characters within it. And it again explores the idea of what it is that makes us human in relation to when the lines between man and machine are blurred. But it does this by taking the world in a different direction. If you're looking for action in this film, like the original Blade Runner, these sequences are sparse. But what is there is great. There's high tension and high stakes involving characters that you actually care about. But the conflict isn't always just people punching each other. There's a lot of incredibly tense moments just in the conversation between players. I can't stress this enough either. Everyone in this film is fantastic. Gosling, Wright, Batista, Ford, all crushing it. But if I had a criticism of any of the performances, it'd be with Jared Leto. He's sinister enough, but his Neander Wallace comes across, to me at least, like it's Jared Leto putting on his distant and calculated voice and just chewing scenery. It also goes without saying that if you've seen any of the trailers, then you know that this film looks incredible. It's a terrific blend of practical and CGI, which is again reminiscent of the live action and the model work from the first, but from a modern perspective. If you're a fan of the original Blade Runner, I'd say you'll really enjoy this. If you're not, I still think there's a very good chance that you'll like it, especially if you're a fan of hard sci-fi, whatever that even means anymore. And if you didn't enjoy that meandering pace of the first that I mentioned earlier, this one is more purposeful in its storytelling. It's a long one also, coming in at 2 hours and 43 minutes. And it's definitely an exhausting ride, but not in the negative sense. For a sci-fi film, it's great. For a sequel, it's also great. It might even be better than the first film. That being said, it's so fresh in my mind that that's not something I'm willing to commit to just at this moment. I give Blade Runner 2049 a good review. As in, this review that I just did. I don't do scores. I used to do best movie ever or worst movie ever, but that threw a lot of people through a loop. So if you're deciding whether or not you want to see it, just listen to the things that I said before this and maybe check out some other reviews and then just, make up your own mind. But what did you think of Blade Runner 2049? Or if you haven't seen it yet, what are your thoughts on the original Blade Runner? Does it hold up for you? It's okay to say yes or no. It's fine. You can do whatever you want on the internet. It's a bloody madhouse here. So many opinions. Also, every Tuesday we do a show here called Caravan of Garbage, where we play something good or not very good from the past. This week we gave Blade Runner on the PC a red hot go. And it was a blast. Here's a clip.
We'll get back out there. Those reps ain't retiring themselves.
Does nobody have any information for me? Lieutenant, look at my stupid blurry face. Give me some information. Thanks, Lieutenant. You useless sack of shit. All right, Mason, I'm out of here.
All right.
Run to the elevator. Blade Blade Runner.
Also, I have a podcast called The Weekly Planet, where every Monday we talk movies and comics and TV shows. Last week was on the original Blade Runner, and this coming week, we're getting stuck right into Blade Runner 2049. Spoilers and all. So come along for the ride if you want. But thanks for watching this. I appreciate it. Take care.